What's up, everyone? Welcome to From Hood to Holy. My name is Edgar Lujano, your host. Today on this first episode, we have the one and only, my good friend that I've known for, a couple of years now?
Yeah.
My good friend, Eric Tafoya, the traditional urban Catholic. He is a podcaster, a public speaker, evangelist, apologist, and above anything, just somebody who's convicted for the faith. So my good friend, Eric, what's up, brother? How you doing?
Brother, you were telling, I say, who's he talking about right there? All I know, man, this guy was homeless for many years. What are you talking about? When I hear those things, you know, thank you for having me on, but it humbles me. And it just reminds me once again, when I hear those things, it reminds me of the power of God. Let's just keep it real. That's what we're from hood to holy, right? And when you say these things, it's like, dude, he's like, Lord, like, I love you, but he's really saying that about me. Like, thank you. Yeah, thank you for having me on, bro. I appreciate it.
Yeah, isn't it wild? Like you hear those things and you're like, I haven't really done much. Like, you know, I'm trying to strive for God. And then you hear people, you know, somebody else talking about you. You're like, oh man, it's not me that's done these things. It's God that's allowed me to be in this position. And I mean, you know, look at you now. You're like, you're full, you know, 3-piece suit. I know your jacket's sitting by you, but you got a 3-piece suit. You're looking clean. You got a new home that you're living in. I want to know where all this started. So I've only known you for, like I said, a couple of years. Been good friends ever since you know those days that we met. But tell me about Eric from the very get-go. So that's the whole purpose of this podcast is just let's talk about, you know, your story, because you're a follower of Jesus, but you weren't always that. And I'm sure there was a time when you were just completely separated from him, and a time when you were kind of back and forth. The way I like to put it is walking on the fence of two different lives. You kind of wanted it, but you kind of didn't because you want to see what everybody else was doing, and then eventually following Jesus. So take me all the way back. Take me all the way back to the very beginning. Where did you grow up? What was your childhood like? Or mom and dad around? What did that look like?
Raised in San Bernardino, California. That's where I was born, at least. So born in San Bernardino, California. My dad, my mom, and then I had a little brother a couple of years younger than me. My dad was, you know, just the reality of it. Let's just get right into the mix. My dad was a gangbanger, into drugs, was a part of the ME, drug dealer at the same time, had a bad addiction. Of course, mom being on welfare, Section 8, drug-free. Let's say that about moms. Okay, just got to say that about moms. Drug-free, that was not her thing. She loved her kids. And my dad was the opposite of that. So there was a lot of things growing up. I would see like, man, it's a trip. I don't think kids should be able to be seeing these things, but like my dad would have like, remember, balloons. Maybe at the time I didn't understand what these balloons were, but they were balloons full of bags of drugs. And my mom kind of like, we kind of knew that it was bad already. We knew that we were not supposed to touch it. There was a time where I went over and grabbed something. It was like, dude, my dad was like, no, don't at me. Oh, don't touch that. Bad. And after that, hearing that, you kind of always know that stuff. There's something going on with those bags, with those little balloons. It was balloons, a lot of balloons being filled up with drugs. There's something going on with that. And so seeing my dad robbing all my neighbors, like, this is just as a kid. I'm just a kid. So, you know, I moved. We're talking about in San Bernardino before I'm even 7 years old. Every house that's around us, my dad's breaking into them. And, you know, what sucks is that nobody's calling the cops on us. But you can see track marks when my dad would steal certain things and have wagons or something with him. Hey, rest in peace, my dad sold, for reals, because that was my road dog. And we'll get into that right now. But you would see the tracks going into my house, and my mom would be all upset with him. I remember my mom and my dad getting arguments when I was younger. My dad was never very aggressive with her. He would cheat on her a lot, push her off to the side, come home with hickeys on her neck. There was even a time where I think my dad, never was violent with us. Never. In his drug addictions, he always believed in me. But I remember my dad, I keep this to myself, but my mom stabbed my dad. Like, I remember that. Like, maybe he got crazy. Maybe he was cheating. I don't know what was going on, really. I was a kid. You know, we were just children.
How old were you? Do you remember how old you were when that happened?
I was about like maybe 4 years old, 5 years old. I was still just it's just like a glimmer. It's just like a kind of glimmer. And I remember because I've talked to my mom, and then my dad over the years would show me where the steak knife would embed in his shoulder. I think, sorry for laughing right now.
This is from the get-go. So like from your earliest memories, you remember those balloons full of drugs. You remember just your dad going out there robbing the neighbors. You remember your dad getting aggressive with your mom, and then obviously that situation. So from the earliest get-go, and were your parents together the entire time that you were living with them, or did they separate in the future?
So of course, right after that, my mom would become a correctional officer. So my mom would be like, she would
No
see the
way.
opportunities in the late 80s and she'd be like, man, I want to get my kids out of this. So now we're like, she joins the corrections probably like in 88. And she would be in Chino and we would still be around that stuff. And she would now tell my dad, now my mom had, now she had a grip of her life now. And now she was a correctional officer. And it's like, yo, we're giving you one more chance. You want to come join us? We're going to move to San Diego. We're going to go to Donovan. It's when RJ Donovan, it's a state prison out in San Diego by the TJ border, by the Mexican border, was being built. And my mom said, you want to come with us? And my dad chose his drugs. And so we would move out
Wow.
to, we would move out to San Diego and be without my dad. You know, I really love my dad. And we don't realize the effect when you don't have that male role model, you know, just that male in your life. We need that. We need that. We need that structure and discipline. But as we go on, you'll see maybe his fathering wasn't the best. But we would go out there and we would play sports. I was good at sports, bro. Any sport you could think about, hockey, soccer, football, baseball, basketball. I played everything: horseshoes, badminton, tennis, handball. Like we were shooting. I would shoot everything. It would just be a part of it. But a part of having a single mom is that she's home alone a lot. And my mom tried to give us the best. She even made us dress up stupid like each other for a while when we were kids. That's the stupidest thing. Don't be dressing up your kids the same when they're going to school. If one kid is in the 6th grade and the other kid is in the 4th grade, that don't work like that. 11 and 9,
Hey, it's easy though.
those are two big different ranges right there. And so, she tried taking us on vacations, doing what's right for us, trying to show us the right, but we're alone a lot. So we would have a lot of freedom. We would get into mischief. We would get into trouble. We would get into different things. And so, yeah, even at a young age, I would find myself getting incarcerated at a young age, getting in mischief, getting into gang fights, even though I'm not even around my dad now, being pulled towards marijuana, being pulled towards different things like that I would see. And naturally, I was drawn towards it because I realized my dad was a gang member. He was all tatted up. He was a gang member. So I naturally drew to gangs, even though my dad wasn't around. So my mom would be like, oh, you're just like your dad. And I didn't listen a lot. I was confused in life. I was broken. I didn't know what was going on. And so I would go live with my dad. And going to live with my dad at 12 years old would be a trip because my dad's opposite of my mom. I went from having great food, luxuries of life, multiple clothes, only me and my brother, to going to live with my dad where we're eating potatoes and we're eating microwavable potatoes. We microwave the potato, and eat it like that, or like macaroni and cheese or top ramens. And so it became a different, just in a blink of an eye. Within the first couple of days, I'm already doing crystal meth. I'm already smoking marijuana, hardcore, not just like a little puff from the guys like I was before. I'm talking about smoking all day long now. Now it's become attributed to my life. All these different things are happening, especially with the crystal meth. When you're 12 years old, a child should not be seeing this. Immediately the first week I'm down there, I go out. This guy's really drunk. My dad has me hanging out with. And what happens? We're in Redlands, bro. This dude gets smashed out. I'm not even lying. I'm only a kid. This dude's probably like 15 or 16 years old, drunk, trying to pick up on some females, and some big homies whooped on him. I'm saying they pummeled him, and they looked at me like, what's up? You want some? I'm just a kid. I'm just like, dude, I took off running home. That's the reality of the batter right there, And I remember my dad but I remember I felt like, dude, I used to think that I was the big shot and the bully kind of when I was at my mom's house around those kids. Where the heck am I now? I remember
Yeah.
I didn't realize going back to my dad was going to be like when he was a child, when we were younger. All that drama, all that
So
nonsense.
let me ask you. So how old were you when you eventually went to live with your dad? Because we went from 4 years old, you saw all these things, and then at 12 you started experimenting with drugs and stuff like
That
that.
would be
You are
towards the
obviously
end of my
already.
12th year.
How old were you when you were first arrested? Like the first time you got
That was
arrested?
13 years old. Right after that, I would get my first arrest. Would be right after that where I get my first arrest, and then I get incarcerated right there.
So it was really when you moved with your dad when it really all escalated.
When
then.
it all would take off, of course, the drugs, the violence, the breaking. And what you think about it, we were robbing connections. Like, this is real, man. I'm only a kid. I'm pulling out a shotgun, jumping out of my bush. My dad's acting like he's going to buy some heroin from somebody because he doesn't have no money. And he's feeding, and he would slam, and he would slam, and he would slam, and he would always miss his vein because he didn't have no veins, and he'd be all pissed off because he's not getting high. And he was on methadone, which is supposed to be a cure for heroin. He would take the highest dosage of methadone every single morning and still go and start slamming heroin. All speedballs, coke and heroin. But we would rob Home Depots. We would walk around neighborhoods and look for mail inside of a mailbox. And that would tell us that somebody was on vacation, that somebody was gone. And we would break into that. And these are things that I'm learning like 3 weeks from just moving now. I'm seeing slamming. I'm seeing all kinds of different things, all kinds of druggies together everywhere. I'm going to a location in San Bernardino where literally there's like 30 people in a garage all slamming heroin, bro. Like and that's normal to me. And I'm just kicking. I remember I'd be there for hours, like, damn, because I got kicked out of my mom, down with my dad. I'm not really in school or nothing like that. So I'm around him a lot. And so I would go to try to act like I'm tough, act like I'm cool, act like I was something. I remember somebody ODing and they don't even take him to the hospital. They just say, oh, we'll take him out to the back alley, and somebody would just go drive him and dump him in a back alley. And literally the hospital is like right there on the west side, right there. Medical center's right there, man. It's right there on medical center. We have the clinic right there, the community hospital, and not even like 2 blocks away, they would drop him in the alleyway. And so many people just slamming it. I was like, man, what is this life? And it would get worse, bro, because then my dad would get incarcerated. And so when my dad would get incarcerated, that would leave me vulnerable to a lot of people. I would be by myself. I'm trying to get acceptance. I'm trying to be just like kind of fit in. And so that would allow me to open my door. And so I would be molested by multiple individuals. I would be molested by multiple women. Go for it. You're going to say something?
So before we get to that, yeah. So when your dad got arrested, why didn't you go back with mom, or was it?
I ran away. My mom kicked me out, and I ran away from home. So I wasn't talking to mom at this time. And so when my dad got arrested, I was just there at the house still. I think I had left. What happened was the CPS that came through, drugs. They had raided my dad's house where he was at. I just happened to be down the street at one of his friends' house where there was a girl there, a friend, and there was a guy that was there, Angel and Tony. And so I was there with them. So when they hit the place, I wasn't there. I would go back later on. And that's when I would find out, and I would still stay there. And that's when that's why I didn't go back to my mom's house.
So when you ended up staying at your dad's house, and so you said that you were, was it SA'd? Like,
yeah, I was sexually abused by multiple individuals. And you know what? Everybody was on drugs. It was weird because it was even like lesbians, and they're like, bro, they look like guys. Like they were going, doing things to me and having me do things with them. And it's like, you look like a man. Why are you messing with this young kid? And then he would even go a little deeper than that. It was a family member after that. It would be a family member, a woman also. And that would go on for months. And it would almost be like I was in love with that person at that time. And I think it would really screw up my view of love, my view of making love. And I'm broken still at that, bro. I don't even know how to, understand that really, because I always thought that every time I had sex with something, I know this is later on, but it was just felt like ever since that moment, I became over sexualized. It was like so many people I was having sex with in this matter of time. And so when it was broken, I would have sex with everybody after that. I would, every girl, younger or older than me. It would just become a natural part of me. And I would be with the girl, and then I would be with her mom, and I would be with her sister, and I'll be with her. Yeah, being with people's moms. Like, what the heck's going on? And I thought it was because I was mentally broken. All these demons, all these things that had been put inside of me at that time, doing all these drugs. And at the same time, I'm staying up for weeks at a time. I'm doing drugs. I'm doing crystal meth every single day. So it's not like these things are just happening. No, I'm running amok now. Now I'm starting to learn how to gangbang. Now my style is starting to change a little more. Now I'm starting to be a little different. Now I'm not this innocent little boy no more, And so it would lead me to get my first tattoos, where my dad would eventually get out, and he would encourage me to stab somebody, and I would do it myself, bro. I know I was just a kid, and people say, hey, you were just a kid, you didn't know what you were doing. But I was able to I got an IE on my chest right here, and it was because my dad asked me to stab somebody from LA. I'm from the Inland Empire, which is San Bernardino, California, San Bernardino and Riverside County, and I would be from the city of San Bernardino.
IE Inland Empire, but that's so. In order for you to get that, you had to stab somebody.
Yeah, my dad. No, that was something. My dad was a code of a book. He wanted me to earn my stripes. A lot of people get it on them, but like my dad wanted me to earn this. He wanted me to. He always looked at me like, at times he would always look at me like I was a little spoiled brat. Like he would, like, oh yeah, because maybe I wasn't like all of them, because I wasn't raised. I was gone for a few years. So as I went through these vital stages from like 5, 6, all the way to 11 years, 12 years old, when I would see him again, I would change. It would be sports. It would be other things. I would take precedence of my life at that time because he wasn't in my life. And so it was always felt like it was a battle. It was even to a point, bro, where I changed my name. My name's E.T., right? Eric Tafoya. My name used to be David Eugene Tufoya Jr. And when I got in, well, so I would end up getting in trouble, running amok, doing different things. I would get incarcerated. And so I would get incarcerated for almost over a little over a couple of years. But in that time, nobody would come to see me. They wouldn't. My mom wouldn't. They were hurt. People were hurt. My dad didn't know where I was at. And even family. I was right up the hill. Like literally, I'm living in Highland right now. I was living like 20 minutes from here. And I guess a lot of people just didn't know. My mom kind of kept it hush hush that I had got incarcerated, because that's what happened. I would go back to my mom's. Okay. Eventually I would go back to my mom's. That's where I would get incarcerated, bro. So that's where I would get in trouble in San Diego. And my mom would know about it. And I remember even one time my dad coming in. Remember, my dad's a convict. He can't come into those lockup facilities. My dad used my uncle's ID, bro. He used my uncle's ID so he could come and visit me. He brought me like 3 Snickers bars. But I remember that was the only visit I ever got in juvenile hall. And I probably spent about a year in juvenile hall. That was the only visit I got. It was a 13,
so my mid effect on you.
My mid 30s, and it was kind of like F the world. It was kind of like, it's just me. And kind of like, and for many years, bro, I stigma, I kind of still fight at times. I feel like I'm battling the world at times, and because that's my old thoughts, that's my old ways. I got to remember that I'm renewed, that Christ has me. And so while I would be locked up, I would be even more, bro. Like, you get locked up and you ain't getting disciplined. You're learning how to be more thug. Now you're around all kinds of other cats that are thugged out the game, and you're doing your thing. But thank God, while we were all I wouldn't go to YA. So they wouldn't send me to YA. They would send me to Boys Ranch.
Explain what YA is.
YA would be the youth authority. So it would be like prison for juveniles up to 25. So that would be like that'd be like the Thunderdome. A lot of people getting stabbed there. A lot of men getting raped in there, because it's just a bunch of kids and their hormones, and they're raping each other, and just, you hear a lot of crazy stuff. So when you're in prison, I'll let you know, because I've been in prison, whenever you hear somebody was from YA, oh, you a YA baby, I better stay away from you. There's those stigmas, because they're all going through their puberty, They're going through puberty while they're there, not around women, incarcerated around a bunch of men. And it's just like, so we make those comments sometimes. So, but thank God I wouldn't go there. I would go into a boys ranch. It would be a ranch facility, kind of like Boys Republic in Chino. It's a trip, man. That's a later story, but I've been going back in there preaching again. But I would go there and I would learn. I would grow. I'd get educated. I'd kind of learn some things. I'd get a little stockier, start working out now, start learning what the weights were all about. We had sports inside of there, and I would start like actually clicking with some cool black guys for the first time in my life. I never knew that black guys were cool like that, and they really they were bigger than me. And I was always a small guy, but I had a lot of heart. This one guy, Ace from Oakland, because the politics weren't like when prison or in jail. The politics are different in juvenile hall and the juvenile system, Boys Ranch.
Explain that for the people who may not understand that racial people. We complain a lot about like racial tensions in the outside world, but prison is a whole different situation where the rule of law amongst the inmates, it's all racial. Like, you can't mix amongst races. If you're Hispanic, you stick with the Hispanics. If you're white, you go with the whites. If you're black, you stick with the blacks. So the question being, you got to hang out, meet some black guys while you're in there that you became friends with. So what was that like? I mean, obviously you're Hispanic, half white, half Hispanic.
Yeah.
Part white. Give you any issues?
Part white. Native American too. Let's make sure we represent for the Native and Navajo. Okay, got to represent French, Spanish, Navajo, and Mexican. Bam, bam, bam. Heinz 57. No, I'm just saying. So what?
So what was that like?
I enjoyed them, bro, because I enjoyed it because I kind of was in sports already, so I kind of already understood, even though the demographic of the people who I would hang out would be one color, I would take liking to them. And for many years, I would have some really great friends that were black, and I would live all over the place, bro. Like, from that instance, I would get out. I would think my mom would want to take me home. And that's how I would change my name. Let me stop right there. When I'm about to get out, I'm emancipating my family, bro. I'm divorcing my parents. I'm changing my name. I'm divorcing my parents. I'm going to go into a group home when I get out. Forget everybody. My mom calls me back in, and so me and my mom start talking. I would go home. 1 week after being home, I would be on the streets again. And then I would just start living everywhere, bro, to be honest with you. I spent a life of partying, bro. There was never 1 year of my life from the age of 13 years old all the way to the age of 40 years old when I got out of prison that I was ever out of incarceration for 1 year. So I just got to set that tone. I was always locked up every single year, whether it was a couple days, whether it was the whole year, whether it was a couple months. I was always locked up every single year. I was always on the streets. So I would get out and I would start learning how to live homeless on the streets. I would go into I would do prostitution at times. I would sell myself to women, like for drugs and stuff like that. I call it prostitution because you're living with
Well, it
them
is,
and
yeah.
you're getting drugs from them. Yeah, I was like a prostitute, man. I'm like around this fat, ugly woman because I'm using drugs with her and I'm using her for a place to stay and stuff like that. And it's like, yeah, I was like a prostitute. And for many years, I would go from place to place. I would live in Arizona. I would live in New Mexico. I would live all over California, Riverside County. I would live in Lancaster, all over Orange County, Redding, California, Sacramento, Chico, a city up north. I would be all over from family to family to family to family to family. They would only take me for like 1 week at a time, bro. Like, I swear. And then finally, I would start learning, like, bro, like, these people aren't going to let me stay, like, all over San Diego, multiple cities in Arizona, Kansas one time. And it's like, they're not going to let me stay. So I started learning how to make friends. I said, because I was a bad boy. I was a rebel, bro. I don't want to listen to nobody, I wanted to do the most drugs. I wanted to live to its fullest. I wanted to party my life out. I wanted to meet chicks. I wanted to gang bang. I wanted to make new gangs everywhere I went. I would make a new gang everywhere I would go. And like, I was something, and I wasn't nothing. And I wasn't nothing. I don't know who Dog Life Familia. I don't know who I thought I was. I would go through times where I'd be a rapper. I do. I freestyle, bro. Like, I know a lot of people don't know that about me. I freestyled for years. I would have major sessions in backyards. I'm talking, we would go into battles, bro. Freestyle sessions. That's all. And then I started writing stuff later on. I would write a bunch of songs. I think in prison, I probably wrote about 10 songs. Trying to find myself, raving, doing ecstasy, getting caught up with Sammy the Bull Gravano in Arizona at one time, and that big ecstasy ring they had. All these, I swear, like in one day, like 50 people all got busted for this huge ecstasy ring. You know who Sammy the Bull is, right? Jimmy
No, I'm not
Gravano.
familiar.
He ratted on John Gotti. John Gotti was gonna rat on Sammy Gravano for all the murders because Jimmy Gravano, Sammy the
Wow.
Bull, was a killer because he changed his name when he went part of the witness protection, either Jimmy or Sammy. So Sammy the Bull, they called him. He would kill all these senators for John Gotti. John Gotti got caught on tape. He was gonna rat on him. He's like, John Gotti's like, but they didn't want Sammy the Bull. They're like, forget if you killed all these guys. We want your boss. And so, of
Yeah.
course, he would go into hiding, and then he would come out of hiding in the early 2000s, and he would create this big ecstasy ring out in Arizona. My friends and me just happened to be a part of that ring. Did I get touched? No. But my buddy, they tore up his vehicles. I would see bags. I just wanted to say that this is what I was involved in. I'm not bragging about it at all, nothing like that. But dude, I couldn't even believe I was a part of that. And so ecstasy, I would do it. This is how bad. That's why sometimes I think I'm still getting back on my head from the crack, from the heroin, from the meth, from the coke, from the ecstasy. I remember doing like at least a couple hundred pills, like in a couple months. And I'm saying, like, popping one night, popping four one night, popping six another night, 10 of them, snorting lines of it, injecting it, trying to get higher off of it, and not getting higher off of it because I was only getting it $2 a pill. That's nothing compared to what they're selling it for, like $25 a pill back then, or $30 a pill was the millennia right there. But just to think how I got it, and then my mind I would start losing my mind, bro. And I would start everywhere. You know what? To be honest with you, everywhere I would go, I would always attack my friends. People that were around me, I'd always feel like they were against me all of a sudden. And all of a sudden, I would make enemies and I would leave and go to a different city. And it just seemed like the same old confusion and just chaos all the time. And then going into prison, bro. I don't know if you want to stop and ask me any questions, but then I would go in and start doing more prison, real prison time. I would get my first term at 18. I would pick up a P number, P98, P98299. That would be my first one. I would go in and out. Boom. It was like 13 months. And then I couldn't stay out. And then I would violate. Go for it.
So the P number, what is the specific design? I mean, so when you obviously you went from juvenile hall, which you were till about 17 or 18, and then from there, that's when you started getting P numbers. So what is a P number, and then what did that look like?
So the California CDC has been around since like the 50s or something like that. The California Department of Corrections. Yeah. And so as more people started getting arrested, we were keeping a tally on all their C files, right? All their files, so you'll know all their crimes, what they did while they were in prison. So if somebody comes back in, you have a file on them to catch them at. You're not going to give out any number that's ever been given out again. So it continues to go, and now they're in double letters now as they're going on. And so mine would be from 1998. I would get a P number in 1998, and that number would be my CDC number. So it would be kind of like my cattle number. A bunch of cattle inside of prison. We're bad cattle. And so they're moving us all over the place, and we're identified by number, not by name. We're not people. It takes the humanity out of you when you're identified as a number and you identify T98531. That was my next number right there. And that would be from 2003 because I would pick up another prison number, But in that time, as I'm living my life, it's confusion. It's disarray. I'm living with everybody. I don't have no kids at the time. I don't even know how to say. I'm living on the streets. I'm homeless from place to place. My life's chaos. Like, I could never get my life together. And then finally I would get a woman pregnant. I would get out of prison in 2000 and I would meet a young lady named Alexis. And I would get her pregnant. And I couldn't believe it. And then I would live with her. And I started hanging out with her a little bit. I would live with her and her mom in a hotel. And of course, I'm still doing drugs out of control and trying to get my life together. I'm on parole and I'm trying to do right. And she would get pregnant. I would get incarcerated. And that would be the first time I would actually start writing music right there. This time that I would it would be this time that I got incarcerated. I would start writing songs, or the last time. I think it was the last time. But I would write a song for her. And I would remember, like, hey, you know what? I want to write this song for this girl. I never wrote a song for a girl. And then I would get out and I would get her name tattooed on me. And then we would go together to her parents and we would tell her parents, like, yo, she's pregnant. I was like, okay, if I got to be it. And she was 18. And I think I was like 27. So, wow. This is the truth, bro. Like, I can't put no county code on that, man. My lady's older than me now, man. Back then, I don't know why I did. I don't know why, man. She was a young Puerto Rican girl, young, cute Puerto Rican girl, dark skin, curly hair. She was really cool. But we wouldn't last for too long, because it wasn't based on love, the word of God or anything. We would all have our own problems. I'd be struggling in life and I'd have a son, man. So they was like, dude, and it kind of like changed it, but it didn't, because I just wanted to party. Like, all I cared about was myself. I was so broken that all I cared about was getting a tail, getting high. I didn't even really care. I loved him. Don't get me wrong. When we were together, I love my son. But when I was doing my own thing, I was lost in the world, man. I'm just building that relationship back right now with him, And so, yeah, it would kind of change things, and I would get locked up. And I think you've heard this part of the story right here. I would get locked up. And before that, I wasn't into God. I wasn't. A lot of people would try to force me to, Pentecostal, and they would force me, blah, 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 force me to do tongues, and they baptized me at this church and baptized me at that church and baptized me at this church. And I was baptized probably 100 times. Forced baptism, because I'm staying with family members over the years and stuff like that, We got to work on you, Mio. You got to give your life to your personal Savior, Jesus Christ, because he loves you. And I'm just like, okay, I'll try it. And baptism. I would get baptized all these times, but I was baptized, remember, as a baby. I was baptized as a baby at St. Catherine of Siena in Rialto, California by Father Marks and Father Louis Marks. And Father Louis Marks would be a very traditional, very reverent priest who died 6 years ago. Praise God for his soul. But in doing all this, I never really knew God. I didn't care. Even when I was getting incarcerated, I wouldn't read it. Now I'm like 26, or I would read it, but a little bit. I wasn't like, at this time, I wasn't like that. But then I would finally say, okay, you know what? I would go through a moment where I think I'm going to do 11 years in prison. And they're like, dude, I'm like, man, 11 years in prison? I've already been locked up like, I don't even know how many years, like I've already been locked up a lot. Too many times. I'm locked up every single year. And now I'm going to get 11 years? It hurt me. It struck me inside. And
that's
like
a long time, man.
Yeah, something hurt inside of me. And I was thinking about my son. I don't think I was really thinking about him. I think I was thinking about myself. I always say I was thinking about, my son. I'm not going to be able to be there for him.
How old was your son when you got that potential 11 months?
Man, he was just a baby. He was like maybe like 6 months old. Maybe like 6 months old. He was just. This
is all like.
Yeah, he was recent, just a little one.
Like, just like.
Yeah, and I was stupid, bro, because think about what I was doing. I would become a racist, homie. I'm not gonna lie. I would become a racist while I'm in prison. We didn't touch on that afterwards. I love colored people, bro. Like, you don't even know. But for some reason, when that rage comes on, I run right to that thing, and it's like, you bleep. It's like, it's wrong. And just keep it real. It's because I was built into that. I would get into riots in there. 300-man riots, bro. And I'm just stabbing every black person I see because I know that's who I'm against. I know that's who's swinging for me. I know that's who I'm going against. And I'm sorry. It's just the reality of it is, I don't, nobody look down on me because that's not how I am today. If anybody knows anything, I advocate for the Black and Hispanic communities in a very detrimental way. And people don't like hearing what I talk about. And that's for a whole nother time. But at these times, I was very racist. And I would, even at times with my friends that were Black, I would call them horrible names. Why? Because we were built with this type of mindset that we had to survive. And when you're in survival mode,
prison is a whole other situation, man. Hey, prison a whole other situation. When you're in there, even if you don't want it, you're forced into it. Like if you're associating with the wrong people that are opposite skin color of you, if it's not you doing something about it, somebody's going to come after you, and that result in death. I mean, it's that simple. I mean, you hear stories from these other podcasts where people talk about like this new kid who didn't know that you're not supposed to associate. Like I remember hearing the story about a white kid who didn't know he wasn't supposed to associate with Black people. That's what he hung out with when he was at home. He was just trying to be friends, and his own race, his own people came after him, and they murdered him because he was associating with the wrong group of people.
I'll tell you
so
this,
that's
bro.
Just the politics.
Yeah, no, that's just the politics, bro. I'll tell you one time when somebody took something from a Black guy, and like the homie's like, hey, bro, because I was a torpedo, and torpedo is somebody who launches, A lot of people could say they're about the business, but a torpedo is somebody who's just, they tell you, hey, you got to go knuckle this dude up, and you're like, brrr! And they're like, hey, homie just did this right now. And see, we usually have a policy where it's not face shots, or we're not stabbing at times, we just say hands on, bodies on policy, but they're like, hey, bro, boy, and the dude was kind of crazy. So there's a lot of situations that I got into like this that I would have to just be there, be like, hey, go do that. And so I just go up to him, and I'm telling you, as hard as I could with the lock in my hand, as hard as I could in his face, boom, and we would just continue nonstop until this guy's face was out of control. And there's places, there's locations, and there's ways to cover up your hands to where you put things on your hands and you could still hit them hard, even if I got a sock wrapped around this. It may give me a little rug burn at times, but there's ways you could do. You put gloves on, you put other things over it, because what you're doing is, like, so I put latex gloves on, and then I wrap a sock around my knuckles, okay? So now as I'm hitting, and I got the lock in my hand, so as I'm hitting them, I'm not getting marks on my knuckles. They're not getting cut up. Why? Because I'm protecting them. The way you're hitting them, they'll teach you how to do it. They teach you to kick in the face more than because anytime. So afterwards, the guy would come and they would go like this, and they would check everybody's knuckles. And so whoever would have the red knuckles would be the ones that would be taken up and would be charged for what would happen to this person. Even like a time when I was this is something that happened to me now. Okay, so they find out my mom's a correctional officer. Okay, they find out my mom's a correctional officer. They come and they bring it up to me, and they're telling, hey man, we know your mom's a correctional officer. And I'm like, hey man, what are you talking about? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know what you're talking about, bro. And they say, no, we know your mom's a correct. My mom was she was by the book. So let me just say that. She would look out for some of my friends and some of the people that I knew, because she was good like that with certain people she had love for. She wouldn't look out extra, but just kind of look out. But when it came to anybody else, it's like, F you. You don't got nothing coming from me. You're a criminal. Don't try to flirt with me. Don't try to get at me. Like, hell no. And they knew it. Everybody knew it, man. And so my friend that I knew from the streets when I lived out there in San Diego was my brother's my brother's friend would be in the same pot as me, okay? This dude, bro, like, check it. This dude would go and be stealing food from people, okay? And so we would have to put hands on him, okay? I told him, I'm sorry, bro, but you can't be doing this. Like, we do not steal food. That is like, you need something, come and ask me. Come and ask a homie. Just because you're coming off of drugs, don't be a dope fiend, homie. We don't get down like that, We don't get down like that. I don't care who they're stealing from. And so we would put hands on them. And so in return, but I put hands on him because the homie told me to put hands on him. Not because I'm like, oh, I'm going to put hands on you, And so he would in return tell the big homie, guy's name was Clyde from Sherman. He would tell the big homie that my mom was a correctional officer. And so in return, they would ask me, they would hit me up. I would tell him, nah, homie, like, what are you talking about? He would call me a liar. And then I would win a football pool, actually, homie. It's a trip how this happened, because I would win a football pool. And he would go up in there. He's like, now I'm taking all your shit. I was like, what's up, Clyde? Like, trying to say what's up. He's like, nah, you're lying to me. Your mom's a effing, your mom's a cop, and you're lying to me. And I say, and he goes, and she's a stupid bitch. It's my mom. Even though me and my mom together, me and my mom are trying to mesh it right now, to be honest with you. We meshing right now. It happens, it's actually starting to work a little bit. It is. The conversations we have, the understanding, like, God's really working through the rosary and prayers. But back then, it wasn't like that. But I still defended my mom. Who the do you think you are? So I would take off on him, but being that he's a big homie, I'm saying, when I say big homie, I'm saying a carnal from the Mexican mafia. Maybe he was a low level carnal, or maybe he was a low level big homie, because it's like a rankings in the military. That's how they do it too. Inside of there, maybe he's a low level one. That's why he was with us, because I was no high power. So if this dude was so high power, why was he in a unit with us? He was just a drug addict that probably paid drugs to be a part of the clique or something like that. No, all respect to what they do. That's not what I'm about, though. Okay, so he would take off on me, and I would have 20 men jump me, and they would be kicking me
Wow.
all over my head, and I would roll up in a ball, and I would be kicked all over my face. I have a laceration right here because it would kick me into my mouth, and I would have blood coming everywhere, and they would jump me, and I got cut. I have like 3 cuts in this part of my eye right here, but they would cut me right in here, and I had blood flowing down right here. My face is all swollen. My hands from trying to fight back are all messed up, and they would keep on, when they would try to get me to lock it up, like kind of go, PC. And it was like, nah, dude,
Yeah.
I'm not going to do these. I'm still going to roll. And so they would do me emergency transportation. They would take me out of there, and they would end up putting me in another location eventually. Okay. They would take me to Chino State Prison. Wait up, bro. Let me step back a little bit, because I'm missing a part. So they would send me from unit to unit within the jail. And I would get jumped, and I would get jumped. I would go to the unit, and I would think everything would be good. And during the day, I would be like this. And I would look, and then they would come back from school, because in the jail there, it's, everybody's connected. You all go to school together. The people that are in the school, they would all go together. So they would come back from school, and they would know who I was. What did this guy go over there? He just came from over here, because we just got him.
Yeah.
And so I would go from unit to unit to unit to unit to unit, getting beat up like that. And then finally I'd get to a unit where there wasn't that many sureños in there. There's only a couple. There was only a couple homies in there, and they thought I was feeding my gente. I would go shoot pinochle, and everything was all good. They're like, man, this homie's pretty cool, right? You've done some time, And then they would come back, and they'd be like, hey, bro, what happened? And I told them, bro, look at this is what happened, bro. And they're like, they want us to smash you out, homie. Like, they want us to smash you out. They want us to smash you out, but make me feel good. Just go in there and take it to the body right now. It was only the second time ever in my life that I would be checked like that. And I would go in there, and I would put my hands over my head like this, and I would just start taking shots to my stomach and my ribs. Of course, I would fall on the ground, and of course, the brother would pick me up. All right, homie, go. Let's do this. And we would go on about our business, but it wouldn't stop there, because then when I'd go to prison, it would follow me. I'd almost get stabbed, bro. I'd have 2 men attack me from the sides, and I had somebody come from head on like this, acting like they were my friends, acting like they were all good, acting like they were going to give me a little hygiene kit, a little bit of coffee and soups, act like we were all cool, because I was at a different facility now. And they did, and they tried to hit me, bro. And so even though I was on point, I'm already paranoid as it is, bro. I was really paranoid. So I would hit the guy. I would take these hits from the side like it was nothing, bro. Because I'll tell you one thing. In my heydays of doing drugs, I was like a maniac, bro. I would suck myself up 100 times. I would tell people, guys think our guys are crazy. And I would just start sucking my face up. And I would be so out of my mind. I'm telling you, I was like a maniac. There was times where I was calling out to the devil. I would. Come on. You want to enter little kids? You want to enter old women? Why do you do that? They can't do nothing effective. Enter into me. Use me. I want you inside of me. My friends were getting shot, killed left and right, bro. You know how many times I remember walking, one time frying on acid, walking in Arizona while a monsoon was happening, and there's rain everywhere. There's lightning everywhere. And I'm saying, come on, God. You want me? It's me against you. And I'm really like out of my mind. You got to understand, that's where I came from. This is the mind state I was in for a lot of years, bro, thinking I was this dominant monster, and I was a complete loser my entire life, bro. Just messed up, mentally broken, mentally hurt, all these demons, not understanding who I was, what my path was in life. No, for real, bro. I say these things so people will know how sick I was. I was diagnosed bipolar, schizophrenic, manic depressant. That's bipolar 1 also. Manic depressant, okay? We're talking about 5150. You'll never get your life together. You've done too many drugs. Your mind is in a capacity that you're never going to be able to function on your own. You're out of control trying to throw drugs at me. Every time I'm in prison, they're pounding and pounding the mental drugs at me. And I'm like, no, I don't want them no more. I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm going to the hole. I spent 2.5 years in solitary confinement, homie. This vato tried to rape me in my cell, bro. I've been through riots and didn't catch this much time in the hole. I've been through riots. I've bombed. I've straight up got assaults on people, and I've never got this much time in the hole. So that's what would happen, bro. We're gonna tell this story, bro. I'm not gonna lie about it. This is gonna be the first time I'm ever gonna open up about this right here, bro. And so, like I said, they would send me an emergency transportation finally. Okay, because they would try to stab me at that facility, bro. Like I tell you, they would try to stab me. They would hit me in my leg. I would drop the dude to the ground while I'm getting bombed on. I'm trying to bomb on him like this. The cops are coming to do it. The dude hits me in my leg. I got a stab mark in my leg, bro, right below my knee. He hit me like a screwdriver or something. It was like a little screwdriver. They weren't trying to kill me. You know what I mean? They just wanted to put some holes inside me. They just wanted to check me. That's a checking. Because you're going to live from a couple holes that are this big in you. You know what I mean? You can stab like 10 times, 20 times with something like this, and it's not going to bleed you to death. You know, seriously, but you're going to learn your lesson, right? That's what they thought they were doing with me. Send me an emergency transportation to Chino State Prison now. And while I would be in Chino State Prison, they would once again tell me to pretty much drop out of the game. And people can say, oh, yeah, oh, you're a punk. And they said either you're going to sign your life away and say that we don't have like pretty much like an insurance claim, you know? And this is some deep stuff. When you really think about it, you're like, man, I'm getting jumped left and right. I got black eyes. I just got stabbed. They wanted to do worse to me. And they want me to sign my life away, knowing that my mom's a peace officer and that I have a green light out on me. And so, of course, in that return, I would go. And this is a lot. I would go protected custody at that time, and I would start changing a little bit in my life. And it's a trip because it wouldn't be. It wouldn't be. You think it would, right? You think, oh, he's in protected custody now and it's going to be even better. I'm a level 3 and 4 already. So first of all, I don't care where I'm at. If I'm on PC or if I'm the general mainline, it's all mixed now. So there is no PC and mainline no more. Everybody's been integrated like this because they got tired of all the bull crap. Because you want to know why? All the gang members were dropping out. All the gang members were going to the PC. And so what do they do now? Like I was a part of, we became with the PC prison gangs now. Now they had the gangs that were against the homies now. You understand that? It's a trip. And I see this function. I see the way it's like a revolving door. They drop out and they start all these gangs, and now they're starting to gangbang and kill people and being even worse than they are on the main line. And I'm like, dude, what's going on here? And so I would go for my first experience to one of these things. And I'm telling you one thing, no matter where you're at in prison, it's crazy, man, because they would put me in a cell with a child molester. And he would be talking about little girls all the time, man. And finally got to the point where like I didn't know what to do, man. I'm all beat up. I don't know where I'm at. I'm in protected custody. I'm like scared. I'm like, I don't know what's going to go on. Am I going to get killed here? And then they put this child molester in here. And I'm like, if I touch him, if I beat him up, like, but finally I just told him to get out of my cell, man. I didn't let him back in again. So they would move me to another cell trying to play a trick on me, bro. They would put me in a cell with a convicted rapist, a man who rapes men. And I didn't know that. I didn't know that at the time. I didn't know that. Nobody told me that. They put me in the cell and he has devil horns on his head, all tattooed up, 36 years old, Flaco from Indio, Jimmy Madrigan. And he would come to my act like, oh, cool. What's up, little homie? Because I'm bald-headed. I'm bald-headed back then. You know, I'm a homie. You know, I'm bald-headed, tatted up, bald-headed, skinny guy, probably 140 pounds, wet and wearing boots. And I'm going by Little Eagle now because I don't know what to expect. Because my name's Cuchillo. That's what they used to call me for many years. Little Cuchillo, Little Blade, you know? And so now I would try to take on a different name. Why? Because I'm trying to act like I'm Indian now to protect myself. I am Indian, but I don't claim Indian in prison. You understand? I claim my people. I claim Raza. That's what I claimed in there. But now I'm claiming my other identity. And so people wouldn't know and not think I'm a gang member. And I didn't know it didn't matter. It didn't matter. Everybody there's on the PC. So it didn't matter. Okay. And so this guy would actually act all cool and I wanted to help me out. And the next day, bro, and like he would start drinking in the morning. He would start drinking a little bit in the morning and he would give me a little drink. I just taste a little bit. I drink a little bit. He probably drink like about this much, that much, and like about that much. He drank and this dude got faded, man. All of a sudden I knew this guy's socking me up, homie. I'm sitting on my bed. I'm sitting on the bed. And he's just, I'm like, dude, what the heck? And this guy's way bigger than me, bro. And I'm like, dude, like, bro, I'm sorry, bro. I'll get out of your cell. I'm cut. I'm starting to bleed like this. I'm like, dude, I'll get out of your cell, bro. Like, dude, like, what? I don't even know. Just imagine all that other stuff's going on to me right now. I just had to sign my life away. All these different things are going on. And then I'm thinking about my dad. You're not even thinking about what I'm thinking about my dad. I'm like, I'm PC now, but like, I'm not bad. But like my dad, how's my dad going to think about me? Nobody's thinking about that. My dad is an active gang member too, and I'm worried about that, bro. On top of all this other stuff that's going on, it's crazy moments in my life right here. But this guy would attack me and continue attacking me and bust my lip that was already busted, bust my eye multiple times, the one that was already cut, and then put another one in my eye. And I'm literally like, finally, I get on my knees and I'm like, bro, please, like, I'll leave. Like, I remember just keep on telling. I don't know why, because I started reading the Bible, bro. To be honest with you, I kept on telling him, don't bring these demons out of me, because I started to. In those times of these couple months of going through a lot of tribulation, I started picking up the Bible a little bit and reading. And I'm like, please. And I was actually, when he started sucking me up, I was reading the Bible. So just imagine I'm sitting on the bed and he just boom, 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 started sucking me up out of nowhere, man. And so then I would be like, bro, I'll just leave. And he's like, nah, man, now I'm going to F all your girls. Because I had a bunch of girls on that. Man, I'm a pretty boy, you know what I mean? Every time I'd be locked up, I write like 6 or 7 girls. I'm just like that. I'm sorry. It was just like that back then. I loved writing, man. I did write poems and stuff to them, drawing little. I wasn't a good artist, but I was still put little cute, like copy prints and stuff on, try to blend it. And so, but he would tell me he's going to take them all from me. I'm going to write your mom and blah, 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 saying some really stupid stuff, man. You know what I mean? And then I would just think, you got to defend yourself, Eric. And so I tried to jump. I'm on my knees and I tried to jump up and hit him in his nose, and I would hit him right in his forehead and I would break. I've broken this knuckle so many times already right here, but I would break it. I think it was like one of the first times I would ever break it right there. No, it was the second time I would break. No, it would be the second time I broke it in Arizona. It would be the second time I would break that on him. I would break a couple of them, bro. I remember I had my hands all in splints after this would happen. And so I hit him and I would push him and I would elbow him in his chest and I would drop him on the ground. We were like kind of like on a bunk. We were on a bunk, on a metal bunk, and his head would we would be on top of the bunk like this, and I would be now on top of him. I would have my arm around his head like this, I would have him like in a headlock, okay, like this. I would be having a hold of his arm like this because he's trying to swing at me like this. So I have his head like this, his other arm trying to swing at me, and I'm blocking it. And I'm holding this arm, and I have him in a banana split. So I immediately went into a banana split formation when I thought about it. I said, okay, I got to try to contain this guy. He's acting really wild and I have to hold him down. My first thought in my head was keeping him down once I got him down. So then I would get on top of him, headlock, arm, I would grab the arm. I would get him in a banana split and I would ask him very nicely, please, I will leave. And I felt kissing on me, bro. This son of a bitch, excuse my language, man. This son of a bitch would start kissing me, bro. I remember it, man. Like, on my cheek as I'm holding him, man. Excuse my language. Sorry about that, first of all, brother. And
No, you're good, man.
And bro, like, there's a lot of times I've been wanting to cuss about something we're talking about right now, but I'm trying to hold myself back to be more content, because that's why I'm in Christ now today. I don't need to use language to identify things no more. I don't need to use language to be, I already get pumped up the way it is, And so he would kiss me and I would look at him like, and he goes, and after I'm done with this, and I'm going to say it straight up, I'm going to fuck you. And he would lick his lips like that. My life would flash before my eyes, homie. I'm not lying, bro. This vato's big old brocha, bald-headed, devil horns, souls on devil things all over his body, pentagram and stuff like that. And I would look at him, and my life would flash before my eyes. And in the next 3 seconds, he would be knocked out. Okay, and so I'd be on top of him like this. Like I said, banana split. I have his head right here because that's how I would look at him. And he would do that thing, and I'm like this, and I'm holding his other arm, but in banana split on top of him, mounted on. I'm mounting him. I'm in a banana split, and so in that second, I just go whack, whack, whack. So you see that was 3, bro. It was quick, but look at 1. Then I came back 2, and then a 3, and in that time he was knocked out. But I would continue to pummel his face for the next 5 to 10 minutes. I would slam his face into the ground, and I would continue kicking it, stomping it, putting my fists into it, because I would break almost every single knuckle. They would all be fractured. I would fracture all my knuckles. I would have splints on my hands, and I wouldn't stop hitting him until I started saying, man down, man down, man down, because there's blood everywhere, bro. I got blood all over my body. There's blood all over the walls. I think my mom still has the reports of these things. I saved it. I saved all my reports like that. Blood all over the walls, everywhere. And I'm saying, man down, man down. And his homie next door was like, take it like a man. He told me, take it like a man. He thought I was the one hurting. He thought that dude was having sex with me. Take it like a man, he told me. And then I kept on screaming, man down. And that guy got a mirror, because it's old school. It's the bars. It's bars. If you guys see the prisons, It's the bars. This ain't the new jail this is the old school Chino back in the day. This is an old state prison. One of the original prisons, probably been around since like the 60s. It's like the 3rd prison ever built, I believe. And he would get his mirror and he would pull his mirror out and he would look around the corner and the guy would be standing up. And I'm saying his head was like a basketball now, homie. You would think that he was a black guy. His lips were like, so you couldn't tell because his lips were so fat. His eye, you couldn't even see his eyes. His whole head was like this swollen basketball, bro. It was horrible. And then I would turn around and I would see him. And the guy would be like, what are you doing to him? And I would turn around, I would see him. I would do a jumping thrust kick, bro, right at his face because he was kind of like leaned over still, like that. And I would just run right at him, a jumping thrust kick right at his face. Wham! And I would knock him backwards and I would knock him out. And I would start, and everybody, the guy's like, you're killing him! You're killing him! And they would go, man down, man down. They would call him down there and they would come down there and they would ask me, they thought I stabbed him. Where are the weapons at? Where I said, I don't got no weapons. This dude's trying to play some gay stuff with me. I don't play that gay stuff, man. And I had blood all over me. Where are the weapons? I don't. And they took me down there. Everybody's like, what's wrong, Evil? That would be the first time that they would start calling me Evil. That would be my name, would be Evil now. Wow. Not because, remember, Eagle. Remember I said my name was Eagle. Eagle. But people would start calling me Evil after that. And that name would be attached to me for years, man. Evil, because I would leave. He would get emergency helicopter out of there. They would have to put one of those things on his head. His eyes are like this now. He's lost function in one of his ears, and I didn't get charged with nothing. They held me in solitary confinement saying that I was mentally unstable. Because remember, I am 5150. So now I'm a 5150 guy who just literally almost killed somebody with his bare hands, somebody who's 70 pounds, weighs 70 pounds more than him. That guy would go on to say that while he was sleeping, I would just attack him in his sleep, bro. So he said that while he was asleep, I would start stomping on his face and knock him out. They would keep me in solitary confinement for 2.5 years. I wouldn't see the sun for 2 years almost, bro. When I finally saw the sun, because they would let me out finally on yard, they had a program where they were letting us out on yard rather because we would just walk on the tier. We would have a tier in front of us and we would walk back and forth. That was our little walk in front of the cells, and we would finally let us out. I remember I burned my whole body bubbled. My whole body was like 100. They would let us outside for like 110 degrees. And my whole body bubbled when I finally went out of there. But I saw him again. He begged me, tell them, stop, please tell him. Because when he went back out of the yard, even though we were on a PC yard, homies that were from my barrio, they were a part of the same prison gang that he was a part of. Okay? PC prison gang. They were called the 2-5ers. Okay? And because my homies were from my neighborhood, from Rent, they stabbed him. And they probably stabbed him about 100 times. Not to kill him, but just to check him. And they would overtime and he'd, please, bro, I'm going to go back. I say, bro, you're the one that did it. I'm not the one that did that. And that would I just say that. And then I'm just saying that. And it would just lead to years of me continuing trying to find my life in and out of prison, broken, acting more crazy or getting more strung out on drugs, not getting my life together. And then finally in 2013, I would get married, bro. That's what I would get out in 2009. And I was actually doing good. We went to a non-denominational church. I was a leader. Bro, I was the pastor's personal assistant. I would.
So let me ask you. Yeah. Let me ask you before you jump into that. How long were you in prison for that stint? Was it 11 years?
No. Okay. So let's get back to that. Let me finish that story right there. Okay. So I would end up going to church. Okay. So I just wanted to tell you before that. So now let's go here because I felt like I needed to touch on prison stuff, the riots.
So that's just absolutely insane.
So that's that part. And that's only part of it. There's so many other stories that I could tell you about, bro, that you would be like,
well, you telling me that is like, you say you're 5150. I don't see it. I see a brother in Christ. I see someone who's striving for Jesus. So the fact that you're telling me that, to me, it's a foreign concept because I know you and I don't see any of that. Like I saw you somebody in love with Jesus. So that to me is shocking. Like everything that you went through, that's absolutely insane. So you said they dropped the charge. They didn't charge you with anything. Did they believe you what he tried to do to you, or what was it that they?
You know what? This was also with that situation right there. Somebody would come out, bro, and actually say, "I heard him in the vents." It wasn't the kid.
Wow.
He was attacking, and remember, this guy had a past for raping. So when I actually would go and be in solitary confinement, I was kind of like a hero. So to be honest with you, wow. every CO on top of my mom being a correctional officer, remember that now. Remember, I'm a correctional officer's son. and I smashed out this dude that was doing these weird things. I would get extra meals all the time. I would get books. They would bring me in magazines, extra bags, anything I wanted, pretty much pens and things you couldn't get access to. They would bring to me and hook me up. The little things, not illegal stuff, but just stuff to make my time a little easier, you know? And so it would go on. But back to the other one, I would go and facing 11 years. And in that time, I'm facing 11 years, okay? And I would actually go and hear a priest, and this priest would be talking. Remember, I'm not a believer. I would go and I would kind of,
Yeah.
not really,
So,
okay,
so
not really.
let's start focusing on the faith journey part. So we
Okay,
got
go
like
for
some
it.
of the backstory of like the prison time. So next
So
chapter,
this would be the faith journey right
your
here. I would hear a
introduction,
priest. I would
faith
hear a
journey.
priest preaching. This priest would be talking about, "Come to me, all who are weary, and I shall give you rest." Right? But I didn't go up to the priest, bro. But you've heard the story before. But a very cool Jehovah Witness named TJ. He was from what was he from? Apple Bottom Pyru or something like that, you know. But remember, he's a black guy. Remember this, guys. He's black. I still can't go over there. It doesn't matter. It's still a law of the game, you know. And I don't. And so I'm kind of like, hey, and he's knocking, but it's not as hard as it was before because remember, I'm no longer affiliated in the gangs no more at this point in my life. But still, there's still some kind of
At this
racial.
point, how old are you?
At this point, 27 years old.
And how long have you been in prison at this point?
So at this point, I've already been locked up a lot, but now I'm picking up the 11 years now. So now I'm
Okay.
going back to the 11 years. All those other stories are before I'm even 27 years old, before this time. And there's a whole lot of other stories that happened. But in the faith journey, he would preach it and I would start crying, homie, because remember, my son, he'd barely been born. I start crying. I start breaking down. I wanted more. And the Jehovah Witness would call me to his door. And of course, bro, I was an unbaptized publisher. Like, you know, if you guys don't know what you mean, I knew the faith. I understood what Jehovah Witnesses believe because I was indoctrinated what Jehovah teaches, what the Bible teaches, drawing close to Jehovah and reasoning from scriptures. These are indoctrinated books that Jehovah Witnesses have, and they've had for years to indoctrinate you to what their belief systems are. Kind of like a smaller version of the catechism of the Catholic Church. You know, and there would be things in there that would really put down the Catholic Church while I'm becoming a witness. And I would study and study, but the problem with that would be was theologically, you guys know they're not correct. What they believe about Jesus being the Archangel Michael, about Jesus not being changing John 1. In the beginning was the Word was with God, and the Word was God. They make it out to be a God. So this, you know, they're taking away the divinity of Jesus. And we know Arianism isn't new. But I was studying different now, bro. Like I would have 5 Bibles in front of me now. I'm going through all these 5 Bibles and I was studying and I even had a Catholic Bible, even though I was an anti-Catholic already in my life. Even in my agnostic atheist, so-called atheist days, you know, I was just always would be an anti-Catholic. I don't know why. That's just a sentiment. What?
Were you just starting to like just devour the faith? So you heard the preaching of the priest, and then your friend, this Jehovah Witness,
Got me going.
Pyru gang member,
Yeah.
So they start preaching. You start falling in love with what they're
with the
saying,
scriptures. Yeah.
and
then I would
you
leave.
just started diving deep.
I did, and then I would leave. I would see a lot of things that weren't right. I would look at the other Bibles, and I would look at the New World Translation. And I'm very big on stuff, dates, all these different things I'm looking at. I was even caught up on the King James, thinking the King James was before the Catholic Bible because all the English Catholic Bibles were all like made in the 90s or something like that, right? Or 1980s or something. The ones that I at least cite, the Good News Bible and stuff like that. You know, praise God for them.
New
The
American
Times Bible
and all that.
yeah, you know, those ones. And I was like, I still saw the similarities, but I always thought the King James was older because it goes back further. Amen. And I didn't know no difference. And so I would jump from religion to religion, bro. Now in my search is Calvinism. I would leap through there, understanding the reprobate. I couldn't sit with that. That's why I didn't stick with Calvinism too long. The reprobate just didn't sit right with me. And so I would go from
What do you mean by that? Explain that.
Oh, so yeah, sorry about that. So in Calvinism, they believe that God has created, like say you got a bunch of babies. I could say it like this. Babies are being born. This one's going to hell. This one's going to heaven. This one's going to hell. So God has created individuals. There is nothing they can do of their own will because they don't believe in free will also, okay? So there's nothing you could do of your
predestination.
Yeah, exactly. They don't believe that in free will. So they would believe that God chose some to go to heaven, some to go to hell. And there's nothing you could do about it. You have been born, that baby, it's been born, and God already has a lottery ticket for it. And that lottery ticket's going to send him straight to hell. And so I didn't like it. to be honest with you. I really, and there's a lot more theological understanding of that, but I just want to break it down to what it means. This is what they're saying on it, and I didn't like it. I didn't like the whole predestination that like we're like a robot. Also, that I don't make these choices I make, that these are just things that God has already predestined for me to do at certain points in my life. And there's no way a predestined can be taken out. So I don't know. I don't even want to get into it. Let's just keep going. It was too confusing for me. Legalism is really
Gotcha.
confusing at times. And so I would jump from, then I would
Yeah,
jump from,
you're already part of the legal process. You don't want legalism in your faith.
yeah.
That.
No, it was, I don't want to be saying, people are already judging me. Who am I to say that person's going to hell right there and this person's going to heaven? And so I would keep on going. Now I'm going to get out. So I wouldn't get the 11 years. I wouldn't get it. I would just be on parole. I would do like 11 months, I think, something like that. They would drop the charges, It was pulling out a machete and trying to whack on some people. I didn't actually whack on them. Just trying to scare people, man. Scaring people and throwing that N-word.
They didn't know that.
Throwing that N-word around and swinging things at people isn't nice, man. That's what it was. And the cops would call me and I would go to, thank God they didn't give me all that time. I would get out and I would go back and I was going to go to Jehovah Kingdom Hall, bro. I was like, I'm going to get out. I'm going to go to the Kingdom Hall. Man, it's close. I can't believe the time went so fast right now. I'm like, I got church in 15 minutes. And so I would go to the Kingdom Hall and I wouldn't go to the Kingdom Hall. My friend would be like, bro, would you like to come to Cornerstone Church of San Diego? Pastor Sergio de la Mora is the greatest in the world, I'm like, you know what? Let's go. And of course I would give my life to the Lord that day, bro. I would go there and I would love it, the worship music. And I'm like, this is hype, the lights. It was really cool, man. It was a really big part of my life because I would learn how to evangelize. I would learn how to share my faith. The Dream Street team, when we'd go in downtown San Diego, we'd hit the Palomar trolley stations. Do you know Jesus? Do you know Jesus loves you? Reaching out to them, they do it. Have you been born again? And it was on fire, bro. I would start leading men's groups in my house, but I would be a functioning addict the whole time. And I would get married, but I would be sleeping with every single woman, a lot of women in the church. And we would become the fastest growing church in America. We would go from I think it was about 1,000 to 8,000 in a matter of a couple of years. We had Joel Osteen there, T.D. Jakes, the Katinas, Israel Houghton. And these are big worship leaders right there. Bishop Hezekiah Walker. There were some big names there. And I was like, whoa, doing some things. But like I said, I was caught up in my addictions, caught up in my drugs. I would start selling a lot of weight. I would start pushing maybe 20 pounds a month of marijuana from the Emerald Triangle to down here. And I would go back and forth. And I would start running and it just caught a hold of me. And then I would start doing meth and get caught up. And then I would go through a divorce, hit the streets and be homeless again. And I would actually live in a tent right across the street from where I live right now. This is the miracle, bro. Hopefully we can go and do another show in the future. But right here across the street, I used to live in a tent. Right here where I live. I'm in a new home now. I'm out here living. But at one time, and this is the time I'm talking about, I lived in a tent right there. Every day going through dumpsters, breaking into houses, gangbanging, doing drugs. This is a guy who's supposed to be Christian, And then I would meet a woman and she would be Catholic. And then she would take me in because she thought I faked the funk, and act like I had it all good. And she would take me in and I would terrorize her life, just like I terrorized a lot of women's lives. Okay, I'm a very horrible person, and she would be scared to a point to where she would call a man named Joshua Betancourt and Carol Betancourt over. Joshua Betancourt, I didn't know that, but he wrote books against Rome, and then he wrote books for Rome because he would convert and cross the Tiber. Way. It's called Evangelical Exodus, crossing the Tiber. Douglas Beaumont, the former dean of Southwest Seminary out in North Carolina or something like that, he would convert and 12 seminarians would convert. Joshua Betancourt would be one of those guys, and I would meet him. His mentor would be Jesse Romero and Terry Barber. He would actually be living at Virgin Most Powerful at the Sacred Heart Chapel in Covina, California. I don't know who the hell those guys are. And they're dipshits to me. You know what I mean? For all I know back then, I'm just a drug addict. So I didn't even know. He didn't tell me. But, bro, when he came to my house, I would try to jab every anti-Catholic punch at him. And he would answer everyone with the scripture. Every question. About Mama Mary, call no man father, the Eucharist, being cannibals. Trust me, bro, I'm shooting everybody night, Mama Mary having sin, all kinds of different things. He's answering from scriptures. And I'm so mad, I'm going to knock him out. I am. I walk outside and he's really nice to me and he invites me to lunch, bro, and to mass the next Sunday. And I'm like, yeah, you know what? Let's do it. But in that time I would go to mass And I would start liking it. I'm like, hey, dude, the weekly mass, because I wasn't working. I was a loser. I would start going. I mean, my drug addiction, I'm still doing drugs, bro. I'm going to mass still. I'm liking this, guys. It's kind of weird. I remember the first time going into a mass, I had my Kango hat on. And I'm like, man, this is weird right here, man. This is trippy. And then they started singing How Great Is Our God. And I'm like, I know that song. How great is our God. Sing with me. It was a live teen night. But the problem was I still had my hat on. And the usher would come up to me and go, and I remember thinking afterwards, you son of a bitch. Excuse my language. Excuse my language. But I did. I was pissed. And even though I lived the mass out, I felt so disrespected. Of course, I know the respect. I dress like this in mass now. Look at me. I'm usually the best dressed person in mass now. And praise God everywhere I go.
Can I share you a quick story? My mentor, John, love the man, diesel mechanic from Southside Stockton. He understood like the hood. He said the first time that he went to mass, because he's trying to bring his family to church and everything, he said that he walked in there and he sat down, and right before the mass, a person went up and like, just as a reminder to everyone that there's going to be no hats. Please remove your hats if you're wearing any hats. And he said, and he was like, there's this one idiot that was sitting in that church who was wearing his hat. And he said, and then I took it off because I didn't know how to. I couldn't wear it out of the church. But that's the beauty of it. It's like you learn, right? That's why nowadays, whenever I see somebody in church with a hat on, I'm like, I want to say something because it's like that righteous anger, but it's at the same time, it's like you don't know where the person is. I mean, for you had no idea. Imagine if the usher came up to you and said, "Excuse me, sir. Just to let you know, like here in the Catholic churches, we normally just don't wear hats for us as a sense of respect for God." That would have came across better to you than hey, pop, take it off right now. So yeah.
You know what? I know we're gonna last a long. I know I'm gonna go really over, bro. I know I already looking at the time. I don't know what you want to do, but I know. Okay.
Yeah. So
you still have a large part of the story and the testimony to go through, bro. So you can hear the back half of it.
Well, yeah. Let's do this. Let's do another 20 to 30 minutes of this.
No, but I actually got mass at 5:15, bro.
Oh, you got mass?
Yeah, I got massive. That's why I said that in the yeah.
Oh, there you go.
It's passing by fast for me. That's the reason. Sorry.
All right, so let's do this. Let's pause it right there.
Okay.
And part 2 with Eric Tafoya is going to come in because the man's got to go to mass. All right.
And I want you guys to hear this too, please. He's going to take me down to Sacred Heart Chapel, where Jesse Romero, or Terry Barber, Bishop Strickland, Father Trad Ripper, they're all at now. That's Virgin Most Powerful Radio. I would be there. So just know this. I'm not a Catholic yet, but that's where we're going to end at. That's where he's taking me to. That's where I'm going to go to when he's inviting me to mass. Hint, hint.
Perfect.
It's a conversion story. It's not mass, but a profound thing would happen to me that day.
The encounter, the true encounter with Jesus in the Eucharist and in the fullness of faith. Awesome. Well, we got the backstory of who you are, the wild, wild life you lived. Thank you, Eric Tafoya. This is only part 1, and we will come back before you know it to record the second part. Thanks, brother.
Thank you.